Srishat Parvanyayashtama Nemuve Amishau Spentau Ispet Bare Zaushau Mazam Tam Tamme Dayata Yange Dayati Paiti Venu Nisruta Nemu Varech Shaitai Avata Spai Krishna Trauri Mazdau Traui Diti Engrai Nainiush Heityavashtam Yatvasnau Frashyotamam Frastui Humatui Vyaschau Huchtui Vyaschau Vashtui Vyaschau Mautui Vyaschau Vachadui Vyaschau Vashtui Vyaschau Aivigai Deiti Vispa Umatau Chau Huchtau Chau Vashtau Chau Paiti Vichau Deiti Vispa Dushmatau Chau Dushutau Chau Dushvashtau Chau Frau Vidai Amishau Spentau Yasnem Chau Bahmam Chau Frau Manengau Frau Chengau Frau Shirtanau Frau Huyau Frau Tanvasi Katyau Shanam Stomi Hashem Hashem Bahu Veshem Asti Ushta Asti Ushta Mai Yadashai Veshai Hashem Nemo Ahurai Mazdai Nemo Ahurai Mazdai Nemo Ahurai Mazdai Nemo Ameshai Biu Spante Biu Nemo Mitrai Vaugo Yuitie Nemo Varech Shaitai Avatasvai Namo Abiu Doetrabiu Yaurim Mazdau Namo Geosh Namo Gaye Namo Zartushtes Vitame Ashono Pravashe Namam Dispya Ashono Stvish Heityaicha Bhavantyaicha Bhushantyaicha Dar haven çenin boyut ondan.
Welcome everyone. We'll be starting shortly. Start, Paul. Welcome everyone to yet another exciting and interesting Friday forum. Before we get on with the presentation, I would just take this opportunity to share something about the Geoparcy program. I'm sure most of you must have heard or read about Geoparcy, but just for those who don't know the details, I'll take 5 minutes and share the basic of what we are doing at Geoparcy. 2013 is when the Geoparcy program was initiated by the Ministry of Minority Affairs, Government of India. After a decade-long research that was done at Tata Institute of Social Sciences to find out why the Parsi population in India is declining at such a rapid rate. It's an 18% decline per decade, which is quite alarming. So there had to be some proactive steps that had to be done. Parzoy Foundation, along with the Bombay Parsi Panchayat and Tata Institute, initiated this program so some practical steps could be taken. When we went to the grassroots and found out what were the issues that couples were facing that was leading to the decline, one major reason was most of us get married late. There's a high literacy rate, education, we are career focused, and જેમ ગુજરાતીમાં કહે ને કે પહેલે પગ પર ઊભા રહી જવાનું, પછી settle થવાનું and then have babies. So doing all that takes time, and infertility is a major cause of the population decline, because after 35-40 is when the infertility sets in for most people. So we have financial assistance that is provided to couples up to an income level of 30 lakhs. You could see there are the different income brackets and reimbursement accordingly. 10 lakhs, up to 10 lakhs is what is provided to couples for all kinds of fertility treatment up to delivery. Then when we started talking to people, they said, Ki Baba, everybody is not facing fertility issues. We could have a whole cricket team, but we have a high standard of living. Most of our children get educated abroad or go in for higher studies, and that takes up a lot of money. So if you have one child, you can give the child the best quality of life. So here again we came in, and couples whose annual income is less than 15 lakhs, they are provided 8,000 rupees per child up to the age of 18 years if they have a baby within 1 year of applying to the program. Along with that, also if they've had twins, or they are going in for, they already have 3 children before 22nd of October, they can, after 22nd of October, if the baby is born, third child, they can also apply to that. Along with that, we also have an elderly care support system, but this is given to couples who are looking after their elderly dependents, and their annual income should also be less than 15 lakhs. Then per elderly they are looking after gets a 10,000 rupees per month reimbursement. Again, the criteria remains the same. Within a year, they need to add one more baby to the community. Also, people who have a second child or a third child, 1,80,000 rupees is reimbursed for their pregnancy and their delivery cost. So all that is the financial support that is being provided to couples as an incentive to have children and increase the population therewith. Along with that, also Geoparsi works at the data collection. So whereas we are telling each Parsi that is there residing in India needs to stand up and be counted, this is so that we can get better schemes going through the government, because the government needs accurate data of Parsi, especially the income level, the educational limit, the married as well as unmarried. So that is very important that we have data. So please, all of you who are logged in today, kindly go to our website. Online form as well as downloadable copies are there on the website. We also work on the matrimony front, where we have had offline matrimony meets, as well as recently we had a Zoom meeting where youngsters could interact with each other to find a suitable partner. So a lot of efforts, a lot of work going on, and all that has resulted in 356 new Parsi babies added to the community. I think we all could give a clap, because it's been a long journey for us, and this, and every drop in the ocean counts. So I won't take up much more time of yours, and I would like to welcome Dr. Shehnaz Kama, who's been our mentor, who's led our entire team to what success we are seeing today. So thank you very much for a patient listening. To you, Dr. Kama, back to you.
Thank you so much, Pearl. This evening is a very, very special evening for me. I met Perin, 20 years ago. She was a very young girl then. She still looks a very young girl, and she is a brilliant artist. But more important than that, I think there is something extremely spiritual about Pearl, about Perin, and the work she has done. It is truly a labor not just of love, but of a deep understanding of the core of Zoroastrian ethics and values. Perin, I am amazed at, while learning about your journey, while preparing for this Geoparsi Friday Forum, I am amazed at the places you've been, the things you have done, and all of it so gently and with such a smile. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. And please take us and the whole audience on your wonderful journey. Welcome to all of you. Please keep your questions ready, and you can put them in the chat box so that we can read them out after the program. Thank you. Perin, do start.
Thank you so much for the honor of showcasing my journey. It's been 25 years that I have been working with the first Avestan letter written in 1998. And I'm really honored to be here today. This is a journey of grace and gratitude, a journey belonging to many named and unnamed people who have been a part of my growth. My early years were in Pune. I was born in 1967 to wonderful parents Dina Tata, who married Kekobat Pudumjee. The Pudumjee family were one of the oldest in Pune, with our ancestor Pestanji 7 generations ago coming as a priest from Surat. And he initiated the JJ Agyari in Pune. He was the first priest there. We were a family of paper makers. My father was the 4th generation paper maker. They started the first paper mill with rags and then onto bagasse as renewable resources. I had great grandfathers. One was from the huge Tata family of Bilimora, another a Daroga of Darjeeling. My great grandfather from the Pudumjee family had a cotton ginning mill in Gadag. My great grandmother was from the Kawasji Dinsha family of Aden, and another great grandmother was from the Sukhia family with an outreach in Karachi. I mention them because I firmly believe that our ancestors are with us and they inspire us. We can be inspired by their lives and we can learn from their mistakes. I was blessed with highly supportive parents. I have a younger sister, Aini, who is in Vancouver now. She's got up early to watch this show. My schooling, college were in Pune, but there was no inclination of being a calligrapher right at the start. Looking back, I loved letter form for certain. There were books in my home. My mother had embroidered an exquisite K for my father on a pillowcase, which I used to trace over. If I followed a truck on the roads in our little herald, I would invariably try to copy the horn, okay, please, on the frosted window or at the back of the seat in front. There were stationery. There were Britannia biscuit boxes in those days, which were so beautiful, and the typography entranced me. It was my mother, of course, who taught me to write. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she taught me to write beautifully. It was Marian Richardson to the nth degree. I did well in writing in school, and probably that was also important that I learned how to write the letters beautifully. I fractured my left arm. I used to write mirror image, and I fractured my left arm at the age of 3, which was probably providential because she, being a teacher, said, this arm is not working. Let's start working with the right. And I switched effortlessly to use the right arm. And that was good because left-handed tools didn't come into the market till very late, especially in India. So it was interesting work and see letters in every way as a child. This was a childhood treasure, a small textbook given to my mother by her departed cousin, Royington Tata. It belonged to him 1946-47. He tragically passed away at the age of 19. But this book was something I would reach for, clamber up onto the desk, trace out the letters with my finger, amazed that they were so beautiful. Probably at age 6, I didn't even know in those days that there was something like a special pen for this writing. I was a studious, serious child. I loved books, an avid reader. And a few years down the line, I was reading whatever I could get my hands on. A great aunt, Silla Vacha Gandhi, who lived with my grandparents downstairs, Jaru and Dora Pudumjee, for months on end sometimes, she had a collection of beautiful handwritten quotations, which I used to read. Then you can see her book here. It's dated 1949. My father had his book, which I have here. Internet connection is unstable. And then finally, my own books started at the age of 11. This is one of my later books. You can see Raj Osho, Walt Whitman, some cuttings from the newspaper. Any words that made me think was something that I would put down in my book. Mother, being a kindergarten teacher and having taught art, quickly recognized my affinity for typography. And in the late 70s, she asked my father to bring back from one of his overseas trips a set of calligraphy pens. There was no Amazon in those days. So you can imagine the joy when I had my first tool. This was the little set. and a booklet which came with it, which I sometimes refer to even now. So the next summer holidays, 1980, were filled with typography. Every textbook for my school, Standard 8, had some different writing. There was Old English for the Midsummer Night's Dream. I traced out the Kahani Vividha for the Hindi book. The physics textbook was a huge tome, so there was a stencil, thick physics written across it. All this was wonderful, but even after 10th board exams, art per se was not a career choice. I studied for my BCom in the next Wadia College, but I started working much before graduation. I was a junior copywriter at Pratibha Advertising, trained in industrial copy, where I met an amazing lady, and it was she who was one of the first in a chain of catalysts who hastened my destiny. She was Alaknanda Nagwekar, who subsequently married Ashok Roy. She was a JJ School of Art graduate who had worked in Mumbai as a copywriter and was in Pune. I was allotted to her. She was the copy chief. And this beloved mentor not only trained me to write superior copy, but slowly developed in me a vision beyond myself. She left, then I moved on to another job at Mudra Communications, Pune, handling all the copy there, won local, national, and international award. And after much reflection, at the age of 25, I resigned from all this. So what did I want to do with my life? This is nowadays people take gap years, and that's fashionable. At that time, my parents were supportive. They allowed me the freedom to think about my future and the space to do it. I experimented with nursery gardening, sculpting little gnomes and dwarves, which my sister would sell enthusiastically. What did I want to do? I was freelance copywriting, of course, and I wanted to have a firm, which I named Humata, knowing that it would work probably for my calligraphy as well. Because I had started working at my desk, doing pieces of beautiful writing. This is the desk I was gifted by my father in my 5th standard. I use it to this day. But it's here that I found my meditation. And here where I learned the relationship between myself and the letter form. I did a lot of freelance copy, mainly with elephant design, with another friend, Anagha Borkar. And slowly, in 1994, 95, I started small town sales at the very posh Danai bookstore in Blue Diamond. Freni Satarawala and Freni Sukhya were very kind, encouraging. But my beloved Bachi Masi, Bachi Garda, who passed away a few months ago, she would greatly appreciate my work, insisting on a Xerox for herself. Sometimes to my embarrassment, I'd find it slipped under her dining room glass. And she would keep all the newspaper cuttings, all the media that wonderful things written about my work. She had a copy for herself. The point is, it is people like these in our environment, and they are the ones that are fuel also for anyone who's trying something creative and something different. So do encourage youngsters in your vicinity, in your family, in your neighborhood. Well, as 1996 came to around July, I think it was, I decided that I needed to learn. There were limitations, and that was something that I was looking at my work and knowing that there were flaws I didn't know how to correct. So I called Alka, and she very kindly put me in touch with someone, a calligrapher who could teach me. So the student was ready and the master appeared. This is my master, Sri Achyut Pala. I think he is with us today, and I bow to him with respect and gratitude for all his teaching. Achyut Pallav, sir, he is one of the finest calligraphers in India today. He was willing to teach a young woman from Pune with just one rider, start from scratch. And me having no ego in that matter, I was overjoyed very grateful. And for over 2 years, I would travel by the Deccan Queen in the morning, go to his little office, Resonance Advertising at Dadar railway station, and I would study through the day, return in the evening. My father would pick me up at the station in the Deccan Queen. And that's how the learning began. It was Hutokshi Darukhanawala who kindly went out of her way to do a recce to see where the office was, because I hadn't stepped out of Pune. I had no knowledge of anything beyond the little camp area and where the office where I worked. So Pallav was exceptionally kind, very generous with his teaching, but most of all, he taught me the basics rigorously. I don't know today if students have the patience or the motivation to learn with that kind of rigor. You can see here the practice sheets that I had to begin with. Though from a papermaker's family, we never wasted sheets. So these are the old computer printouts that we would use. There were the horizontal, the vertical, half circles, all important practice and the bedrock for calligraphy. From that, one moved on to graph paper with the letters, so we could see the letter form against a grid. After that, into sentences, into paragraphs, so that the spaces between letters could be understood. The spaces between words, between paragraphs could be appreciated. So I learned different styles in the Roman script: italic, Gothic, Uncial, freehand, the Oriental styles, and then moved on to Devanagari, working with the Boru, the Reed. There too, I learned different styles, and then into Gujarati. Now, when my questions and my thirst for learning exceeded my master's ken, he very graciously put me in touch with one of his senior peers, Europe's masters herself, Carina Meister in the Netherlands. It was she who sent me tons of material on the Western scripts and later on the Hebrew letter form and the different Jewish scripts. This was all in the late 90s, before there was Google Guru at your fingertip. And I think that there was the value of information shared, which was not so easily readily available. And this information was treasured even more. I'm still in touch with Karina, and she is also a chain in my catalyst of people who have helped me. In November 1996, there was a turning point. I attended Pallav's week-long workshop at the NCPA Mumbai as a volunteer helper. And there on the last day, when students were showing their work, and Sir had kept out some of his pieces, I came across his thesis on the Modi script of Maharashtra, the 15th to 18th century script. This research document and its relevance historically, culturally, made such an impression on me that I kept asking, what could I do to bring to the world of calligraphy? What script could I work on? What could I bring out from the dark areas of history and showcase again to the world? I was amazed that here one man had managed to bring back a letter form that was on the verge of being forgotten and bring it back to the world. So that went on in my mind internally for weeks, for months. And I stumbled upon the fact that our Kasti prayers were basically read from the English book or the Gujarati book. So where was the original Avestan script? Maybe I could revive that. And Dr. Jaru Coyaji kindly sent me to the Vedic Sanchodhan Mandal in Pune, where they were happy to meet me. They gave me a list, an alphabet list, but no prayers, no Parsi prayers to motivate me and inspire me further on this road. To my utter delight, nearly a year later, I was given a very precious copy of Gangaji's Avestan grammar by our neighbor, Perin originally from Hong Kong. This was 1998. The book had just 3 prayers in it: the Ashem, Yatha, and Yenge Hatam, staring out at me from the pages of an over 100-year-old book. So this was a start and it gave me a great impetus to move on the road. Amazed by my enthusiasm, Perin, over 75, I think, took me personally to meet her mentor, the late Behram Pichwala. He was over 90 then, an unsung Zoroastrian master, simplicity and humility personified. He gifted me a copy of his book, In Search of Divine Light, in which I discovered a lot about my faith. He lent me precious notes. He explained his theory of Ahun, which is the Avestan Om. I hope to do a book on that one day. And the inversion of the Avestan letters, which formed the Devanagari script. I was honored to exchange some letters with this guru before he passed away in 2001. So back to the workshop at Pallav sir's office, and there, under his guidance, I xeroxed the Avestan letters to the largest size available then, cut each letter meticulously, stuck it on a grid after studying its relationship to those three prayers. And this enlargement helped me to understand the structure, and the untrained eye slowly but surely learned to size and correlate the details of the architecture. My master then sent me to show my work to his friend, Professor Vinay Sainekar at JJ School of Art. I showed him my English, Gujarati, Devanagari work, and hesitatingly, the Avestan work at the end. And with a sweep of his hand and a very serious tone, he said, "Why are you doing all the rest? Work with Avesta. There are others who will work with the other scripts. You have this is important, you can work with this." And that was a great boost to hear this from a master. And when I approached Kama Institute, sadly, the tone was disinterested and the response had been cold. I remember leaving its portals, feeling tremendously dejected, but determined not to stop Avestan calligraphy. Surely our community owes a debt to Professor Pallav and to Professor Sainekar for their inputs. Once I was determined to carry on, there was no looking back with Avesta. And it took my master and Alka and Ashok Roy, the three of them, to push me to finally hold my first exhibition on Nowruz Day, 1998 in Pune. I would have carried on for another 3 years practicing, not willing to show my work, but it was their determination to see work put out in the public domain. Here, Humata Expressions and Calligraphy, the exhibition opened. This was Mrs. Shurubi Nag. My master is there. She headed the local Nag Art Foundation and was a patron, much loved by all artists. The exhibition was sponsored by Rati Forbes, a lady who has been one of my earliest clients, actively recognizing and encouraging my work. So a great big thank you to her. There were many honored guests, Banubai Coyaji, Shurubi Nag, and there on the left you see one of my mentors, Zehra Tayyabji, who entered my life a few months earlier. I met her at 7:45 in the morning as she was leaving for an overseas assignment. She's an international designer who works to this day. She is amazing, an inspiration. She has given me projects from time to time, helping me to keep my interest alive, to keep my hand going, inspiring me, and working with me to this very day. So hats off to you, Zehra, and thank you. So the hall had 107 exhibits. I laid bare all my work right from the first study sheet we saw. Pune had never seen such a variety of scripts and different styles. But more than that, it was the fusion of the beautiful words with the artistic expression. And that made people go back home, come back with families, come back with friends. There were engineering students and students from CDAC, the Center for Development of Advanced Computing, coming in to study the grids, the letter forms, my study sheets. So that was amusing, but it was fun for those 3 days. This was the Avestan Nook. You can see Sabni and the Divo. There were about, I think, 15 pieces there. It was all very special for me to put up these pieces, knowing it was a milestone for the script as well as for myself. My humble drawing board, which I use to this day. The people who helped me at that first exhibition, my family, of course. There were people like Manohar Desai, Girish Charwad, my ex-colleagues, Santosh Karwande, Raju Kulkarni, who were there. My sister, my cousin from Rose Garda, who bought my first piece in 1993. The large Gujarati family, who I've been very close to, the Khemchand Dayaji family. There was Bogi Bhai Shah Kaka, who made my Humata stamp overnight. So from day one, I had the stamp, the Chinese little block stamp, which I could put on to say that it came from my desk. His granddaughter was my college friend, who is now a Jain nun, and we still work together on Jain books. I edit, work for her, books and articles over the past many years. 2 weeks later, I left for Iran. Of course, Mount Damavand, Persepolis, the ancient fires left a deep mark on my psyche. Seeing our brethren there holding on against so many odds was an eye-opener. Here at the shores of the Caspian, there was a moment when I saw the sun set and the moon rise. And there at my feet, I found this beautiful stone which had a letter form. And I've kept this on my desk as a reminder of roots and of a land far away. What was very interesting about Iran was that through the window, you can see, I took a picture of a priest praying here. The priest was reading from an Avestan book in Shiraz. In the Yazd guest house, it was wonderful to see a chart put up with Persian and Avestan letters, so the children could see that. And after Iran, the thought of doing the Kasti prayer book crystallized further. My mother's cousin, Roshan Kalapesi, was down for a weekend. She very kindly put me in touch with Dr. Homi Dhala, who had started the World Zoroastrian Cultural Foundation. Dr. Dhala and his late wife, Kamal, were very encouraging. They said, yes, you must write it. You must do the manuscript. So that was what happened towards the end of the last century. On returning to Pune, I did some exhibition. Here's one for a local restaurant that promoted artists. They wanted to cover all their walls with words and letters. So that was interesting. There was a piece here. I had the honor of gifting Sham Benegal because he admired it. You can see I'm working with different colors, different alphabets, letter forms in the form of instruments. It was wonderful. There was a private exhibition for a Swedish company. I decided to use the flag colors and literary motifs from Sweden, which gave the Swedish people a lot of joy. The Vedic Sanshodhan Mandal was an exhibition, and it was here that I met Dasturji Rohinkantir, whose lectures I attended briefly. It was Dasturji Peer, who is a mentor, a wonderful scholar. He has guided me with my work whenever I have needed assistance. He has been exceptionally kind, and it is through his hands that in 1999, I received the Avestan prayer book from the Bombay Parsi Association's 1931 edition. This book finally gave me all the prayers in hand, so I could now begin working on the Kasti prayer book. I work with Dasturji Peer to this day, and I'm greatly honored that he helps me so much. In Bombay, the Indus International Club invited me for a presentation. They asked me to select a country, and I always wanted to learn Hebrew, so I selected Israel. And with the help of some notes from Karina Meister, within a matter of months, I put forward the Jewish Sephardic, Ashkenazi, and the modern Hebrew scripts. And the presentation, the slideshow on the Jewish scripts and scrolls was greatly appreciated by Sabira Merchant, which was a wonderful boost. In 1999, another catalyst arrived. Dr. Armin Modi, who ran the local female literacy Ashtanokai NGO. She saw my work and my passion and advised me to apply for a scholarship to the Oberyn University in Tokyo. And it was an honor to be accepted by President Sato, late President Sato at Oberyn, and a great opportunity to live in a disciplined environment like Japan. I had never traveled out of Pune, and there I was in Japan, on another planet, as it were. The beauty, the technology, the culture, the art, everything was stimulating. Here I'm getting ready for the Homata exhibition at the Oberyn University, preparing huge Devanagari letters with a piece of felt and a dog clip on Japanese paper. Here's a glimpse of the Oberyn University exhibition. That's my host mother gazing at the Avestan letters. It was a hall in which me and another student from India, Amruta Borwankar, the two of us alone put up over 80 exhibits that evening. It was very reassuring to have someone like her there. This was my master in Japan, Takahashi Sensei, a venerated calligrapher. He was very kind. He learned 1 to 20, so he could teach me the scripts for the Chinese letters. That's Amruta. There I am with my end semester project, a 250 kanji rock inscription copied out again. And the Japanese professors and students were entranced with the variety on display. They bought artworks, and all the proceeds I sent back for a mobile library for the 12 villages, so that the children could have books to read in the 12 villages of Ashtanokai in Maharashtra. Certificate I received from Takahashi Sensei. Traveled to Oshiage, a small town, for the Ashtanokai office there. Armin's daughter Zareen kindly translated for me so the Japanese could understand what I wanted to convey through my work. On returning, I wrote notes from Japan, and Karina Meister in the Netherlands translated something she wanted to put into the Scriptoris Calligraphy Journal in Europe. You can see here a piece of Japanese newspaper on which some scribbles have been made, because I wrote of how I wouldn't waste paper. I would use newspaper for the first month because I was learning to understand the brush, which is more difficult than the hard instruments of the West or the boru of India. I wrote of how I attended every lecture, though I didn't know the language, I couldn't understand a word the master was saying. Of how in the first lesson, the textbook was absolutely held in the wrong position. I didn't know how to hold the Japanese textbook and how to open it correctly. I wrote of trying to follow the discipline and decorum in the class, even though I didn't understand, and the students near me were half my age. I was about 32. I wrote of how my hand ached practicing, but I was learning. And I was also very keen that whatever I learned would somehow be transmitted into the Avestan script that I was keen to pursue. So when I returned to India, I got married to Xerxes and entered the Coyaji family of brilliant doctors and social karma yogis. Then I was pregnant soon after, but I was determined to do the Kasti prayer book. So I did the manuscript of the prayer book while I was pregnant, and it was done in my 7th month of pregnancy before our twins arrived. In 2003, Parzor invited me to NCPA Mumbai, and there you can see there's been a burst of colors, thematic ideation, more instruments that I worked with, and Bombay was amazed. I think the 25 pieces sold out over those 2-3 days, and it was a wonderful experience to get the feedback from people who were entranced with Avesta. Nina Sichaporia kindly sat last few hours while I brought the Deccan Queen back to Pune. And it was there that I saw Shahnaaz Kama for the first time from afar, and I was full of admiration for her. In 2005, the prayer book was ready, thanks to the art input from Zehra Tayyabji, working with my friends Santosh Karwande and Raju Kulkarni. This is probably the world's first calligraphy prayer book with Avestan, Gujarati, Roman, and an English translation. I'm grateful to all those who helped to make this book happen. Dr. Setira Wadia, she procured funding from the Gazda Trusts. Many people helped to sell the book because I was selling directly from home. Smita Godrej, through my aunt, Kiti Dastur, took cartons off to Mumbai. Our family elder, Homai Pudumjee, took cartons for her circle. My dearest aunt, Firoza Manik Patel in Mumbai, she sold the books from her home. She sold artworks from her home. She would get inks for me because I use a special red ink for my work. There was Natasha Lord, my second cousin, a great supporter. Maruk Bharucha in Pune, Gula Deshar, Dhan Edanwala, Khorshid Bharucha in Bombay, Lady Jasmine Jhangir herself, a wonderful artist, always encouraging. So these were the people who sustained me and whose interest in my work kept me going. You can see here the flyleaf and some sections from the book. Other platforms where my work was shown: in Houston Congress, Budwada Museum, the Congress at Pune, Congress in Mumbai, and a presentation on Devanagari at the Wind Club, Pune. My master has a fantastic manifest exhibition annually, which is a big draw for calligraphers across the country. Here are some Avestan expressions in the brochure that he put in. And I was honored to put my writing skills to use for him when he was penning his thoughts. I was editing with his classic award-winning Akshar Anubhav in 1998, as well as a book celebrating 40 years of his work in 2018 for Letterospective. So with small pins at home, the next catalyst arrived in the form of Milind Agnihotri and his wife Asha. They would take me for corporate creativity workshops in big companies like Tata Honeywell, Satyam, BPL, Mahindra Telecom. These workshops were wonderful. They were for mentors, mentees, senior management, trainees, HR personnel, even for stressed out couples. So it was fun. The response was tremendous. The idea was to help people unwind, to help them to see creativity in simple letter forms and understand that creative input was possible even with limited resources at hand. Because I used to use different tools, unusual tools, which gave a beautiful dimension to the work. In 2012, the catalyst was none other than my father's brother, the globally renowned legendary puppeteer, Padma Shri Shri Dadi Pudumjee. He goaded and persuaded me to accept an invitation to participate in Kamar Dagar's Kalamatma International Calligraphy Festival at the India International Center in Delhi. That was an amazing experience. For the first time, I was exhibiting alongside international artists, and Kamar herself, an accomplished calligrapher with a beautiful style, she was amazed to see the revival of Avesta. Here is my work. You can see the big strokes, the Japanese brush. So there's great confidence, more boldness in expression and colors. I was honored to accept the praise and encouragement from none other than Dr. Coyaji herself. The festival brochure showcased the Yathaverio. It was done with a small little stamp of the winged angel at Pasargad as the visual motive, and the Yathaverio written simply across in red. I love to work with handmade paper, probably coming from a paper maker's family, decollage especially. Then in 2014, another family friend and an encourager of my art, Firoza Mistry, kindly put me in touch with Sarah Stewart, who commissioned a piece for the Everlasting Flame exhibition in London. This artwork was done on Nepali rice paper. It's a big piece. It was done in the Iranian style because that was the text given to me. And the Indian manuscript style is different, not as graceful. You must understand, I have worked in isolation. There has been no rule book. Like there are rules, very strict rules in the Islamic tradition. So I have been very fortunate to use my head, my heart, and my hand as I please. They have positives as well as negatives, but I have used the opportunity to just showcase the script to in whatever best way I could. Interesting artwork. This was 1999. I'm trying to use the Avestan and the Roman styles. I think now this can be done easily on a computer. Here there's Humat in 7 different ways. On the left, there's a beautiful Indo-Iranian.
Could you please mute everybody? Could you please mute yourselves?
Now,
continue, Perin.
yes, thank you. So in 2016, the catalyst was Dr. Shahnaz Kama. It was thanks to her motivation and determination and my friend Aparna's dogged perseverance that made me present 1001 Names of Aura Mazda at the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts in New Delhi. This was a world's first, and I'm really grateful that it happened, disclaimer and all. Shahnaz was so excited. She got my Gujarati 1001 Names, which had been gifted to Success and me by a priest in the Wadiaji Atash Behram, saying, just take this. And we took this book, 1001 Names in Gujarati, and Shahnaz got it translated into Avesta by Edward Sidhwa, and we put it up, disclaimer and all, but it was done. It was used for the book and cover. The idea here was to connect the energizing rays of the sun with the threads of continuity streaming down, nourishing us with spiritual vibrations on our journey back to the source. 2019, and the pandemic hit. Locked in, I decided to familiarize myself with the size and the substance of these 1001 names. Very fortunately, Dasturji Peer, a few months ago in January, had returned to me his proofread version of these names. He had studied them, he had proofread the Avesta, he had translated them meticulously, and he returned that to me. So I started working on these names, and as I worked, the project, which was a seed in my mind, began to crystallize. Here you can see the 1001 names. They're put against a lock, and they are the artistic beginnings of unlocking a new quest that I was keen to embark upon. The project now on my desk is a book featuring these 1001 names of Aura Mazda. It's a work in progress. We will probably be looking for sponsorship a few months down the line. And through 2021, I have worked on it and had the honor of even showing it to Professor Mahendrabhai Patel, a legendary NID master, who was amazed and gave us a very good feedback on the work. It's still in a nascent stage, but it should gather momentum soon. Here are treasured tools. The tools come to me, gifts from family and friends who know that they will be put to good use. They are carefully used and they are treasured. You can see the Japanese brushes, the boru, the metal pens, the flat brushes, the metal nibs, which are used for the 1001 name, very fine, very small. Here I am at my desk, working at the same desk that I've used all along. I move with a lot of grace into tomorrow, with a lot of gratitude. The entire journey seems to have been unfolding in this sense of grace. And I often think of myself as a tribal artist with no formal degree, being held in the hand of the master calligrapher. If you ask me, Quo Vadis, I don't know. I don't know what the next stroke will be and where it will lead. But from where I am at my desk, I give thanks from my heart to all, especially to Xerxes Atashtishtha, who are wonderful companions on this journey, to my very close circle of friends who are always there to support me through thick and thin, to my family, my well-wishers, my valued clients, and to all who send love and light from around the world. I thank you. This is a video of the Avestan Ahun.
بنام مزد بخشاینده بخشایشگر مهربان مسو با پیروزگر با مینوی خورشید امرگ رایومند و خرومند آروند است همت و هوخت و ورش نمو ورخ شیطایی آورد نمو ورق شیطایی آورد اسبایی نمو ورق شیطایی آورد اسبایی شنانترا اوره مزدا نماسته اوره مزدا نماسته اوره مزدا نماسته اوره مزدا.
Thank you so much, Perin. That was just extraordinary. You already got people wanting to learn calligraphy from you, wanting to know whether you will conduct training sessions. This is Shiva Rawat for young adults and children. Then we've, of course, got lots and lots of people saying just extraordinary. Thank you for sharing. And Mala says, your broad brush strokes are so beautiful, smooth, and gentle. But there are people who are asking about your book, your Kasti book. Is it possible for you to show it to us, please?
Yes.
And
Yes,
how do we get it? Yeah, how do we get it? That's the question.
For long years, I sold from home, and in the lockdown, there was a digital push, and I got a distributor in Pune. So this is the book.
Okay. And people can contact you at this email, right?
Yes, that would be nice.
Wonderful. And there are people asking you about Avestan. And would you explain a little bit more about Avestan, how you learned the language? And could you tell us more about the script? Because they're fascinated by the script itself. This is Mehrnaz is asking you. Could you please tell us
Yes.
about that?
Mehrnaz and all of you, I don't know the language. I am not a historian. I am not a scholar. I'm not a grammarian. I just know the letter form and I copy out the script. So it was not for me to learn the language, but to bring the script to the community. And the Avesta, basically, if you ask what is Avesta, it is the name of the oldest scripture of the Zoroastrians, composed in absolute prehistory when the art of writing was not invented. This was from the outlines of Parsi history by Hormasdyar Dastur Kayosi Mirza.
There's a question over here. As computerization becomes more and more endemic, how do you see the future of your beautiful profession evolving?
All calligraphers face this. So we just keep working and hope that the human spirit appreciates the hand, the heart, and the head, as I put it, which brings forward an expression that is quite difficult to find, a unique expression, a one-of-a-kind expression in the computer. I don't know much about computers, but all I can do is use my hand to keep the handwriting going. I hope to work with children, workshops where I can try to keep this art alive through my workshops for children. I have 2 lined up next week, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, now Shiva wants you to digitize some of your works and exhibitions so it can lead to a wider outreach. That's something which we can do with our Google exhibitions. So we will look at that. There is somebody who interestingly has been with you to Kashmira Marfatia says we were roommates on the Iran trip. Quiet, unassuming, creative. What an amazing journey. Bless you in your further endeavors. And Dadi is reminding you to say thank you for Mobed Firozgari's recitation, that we have to thank Mobed Firozgari from Iran, Dasturan of Iran, for his recitation from the Avesta. And there are many people who are calling you blessed, who are proud to know you. That is Sulba Kale, extraordinary work, exquisite, says Nim Sharma. And there's just so many people who, there is Kashmira Marfatia is saying, I'm learning Avesta Pelvi. If somebody is interested, contact me. And it's in the chat box, so please do have a look at that. And there's some questions about basically about the script of Avesta and how you got interested in it. I know you've told us this before, but if you can just tell a little bit more about it. And Natasha Lord says, I've been sharing Perin's calligraphy as gifts for 2 decades. They're treasured pieces. And by the way, Perin, I wake up every morning to just look at your 101 names of God straight in front of my eyes. And it's a good start to the day. So can you just tell people a little bit more about the script, the Avestan script which you chose? A little more. I really don't know what more you can say, but still.
Okay, there's something here from the Pitawala's book, which I can share with you.
Please.
It's very interesting. It says, according to the great Arab historian Masoudi, the Avestan letters were invented by Lord Zarathustra as a means to record his teachings. Our tradition speaks of Jamask Hakim taking down the master's words on parchment in letters of gold. Now, Avestan letters are not derived from Semitic languages for the reason that firstly, there's no resemblance between these scripts, and secondly, the Semitic scripts don't have specific vowel characters as in the Avestan script. I don't know if this answers your question, but I'm not a linguist or anyone who can guide you in a very technical manner. The script itself has about 60 alphabets, sometimes some scholars say 58. There are 26 original letters, however.
Okay, I think that does help. Jasmine Jahangir says absolutely brilliant work. It's always a master stroke. Dadi wants to know about the plan of your book. And I have to tell the audience that Dadi Pudumjee has been the person who has introduced Parzo to Perin. We are eternally grateful for that. And who has held Perin's hand along with Atash. God bless you, Atash. Thank you so much for the wonderful, wonderful job you've done on this presentation and for keeping your mother calm. I think that's very, very important. It's nice to see you smiling, Perin. You were looking so worried before the program. Perin, please do tell us about the plan of the book on the 1001 names of Aura Mazda. I think that's something really important.
Well, the book is in a very preliminary stage. Our team is set. I'm working. Of course, Dastuji Peer has given it the perfect spelling and the translation. Now we are working on actually getting the design out. I'm working with an old colleague of mine, Raju Bondrekar and Zehra Tayabji. And hopefully we will have some kind of ideas out soon. Then we can ask around for some sponsorship if anyone wants to, or then we will try different means to present this book to the community. We need to understand how many people are actually interested in a book like this, because it's an art book. It's a very special book and it will be an heirloom.
Yes.
It brings to mind the Vishnu Sahasranam, which is in the Vedic tradition. And it's wonderful that we have something like this that people are not even aware of.
That's the point, because we've all heard about the 101 names of Aura Mazda, never the 1001, which was so exciting when you showed it to me and when you talked about it. Yes. So I think this is something which would also interest Iranists and people in Iran and Central Asia. So we definitely need to push you on this work. But I think we've had an amazing evening. If there are any other questions, or of course there are lots and lots of comments and congratulations and things, but I think a lot of people want to just say thank you to you for a brilliant, beautiful presentation in such a soft and honestly spiritual fashion. I think all of us want to say thank you to you. We're all in front of you over here saying a big, big thank you. Yes, yes, Perin, absolutely.
Thank you, Shahnaz, and thank you, Parzor, that after 25 years, I've had a platform to put forth my story. Atash and the family Tishtar have been fantastic to get this presentation off the ground. Daddy checking it out. And
Yes.
we are really happy that we could do it and do it so well for you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us. Please join us next week. And thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Shamla. Thank you, Shashikant. And of course, a big, big thank you to Atash and Perin. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye, Perin. All the best.
There are lots of messages. You'll have to read them. And a lot of people just saying, thank you, God bless you. And now party time, says Dadi. Thank you, Atash. Please let us see your face. Thank you. And God bless you on your new journey in university from tomorrow. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Perin. Thank you very much. Perin, thank you.
Thank you.
Firoza from Bombay.
Thank you, everyone. All right. God bless.